Welcome to Little John's Yarns. Today we're going to learn how to create this lacy SnapDragon crochet stitch. To create this, we're going to be using the chain and a double crochet stitch. You can also go over to my website, littlejohnyarns.com, and follow along with the written pattern. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's hop into the tutorial. For this pattern, we're going to be working in multiples of 8 plus 1. For example, you can start with 16, 32, 48, 64, but remember to add one more stitch. All right, I did for myself a chain of 33 stitches because that's 32 plus one more stitch. And since I'm making a double crochet row, I'm going to add two more. 1, 2, because these 3 stitches will be my very first stitch. So let's double crochet into this 4th chain from the hook. By working in the 4th chain from the hook, remember right here is 1 stitch, 2 stitch, and at the end it will average out to 33 stitches. Not average out, it will be 33 stitches. So continue placing double crochets all the way down your work, and I will meet you at the other side. We've made it to the very end of our row, but I want you to double check, count your stitches, and make sure you have a multiple of 8 plus 1 stitch, because if you don't, your pattern will be off. For your next row, we are going to chain 1. Turn your work. We're going to single crochet back into that very same stitch right here. And chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into the 4th. That is going to be our pattern repeat all the way across. I'll show you again. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, single crochet into the 4th. And chain 5. You're going to repeat that all the way across. Chain 5, skip 3, single crochet. So pause your video here, and I'll meet you back at the other side. We've made it to the very end of a row, and we're going to place a single crochet in the top of your chain 3 stitch at the beginning of your row. All right, now we're going to start our repeat of the next 4 rows. And don't worry, the repeat is not complicated. It's basically a repeat of 2 rows, but just switched up a little bit. All right, to begin, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work, and you're going to place 2 double crochets back into the very same stitch. 1 and 2, and this is basically going to be half of a shell. And to anchor down the shell, you're going to place a single crochet into that very first chain 5 space, and that brings that half a shell down as an anchor. So next we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the next chain 5 space. Remember, this single crochet is going to be an anchor for your shell. We're going to place the shell into the next single crochet, and the shell is 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to complete your shell. And we're going to anchor that back down by single crocheting into the next chain 5 space. We're always going to anchor your shells down on either side with a single crochet. And let's begin that pattern repeat again, which is chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, single crochet into the next chain 5 space. As your anchor, place a shell into the single crochet. That's 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and anchor your shell back down with a single crochet into the next chain 5 space. All right, you're going to repeat that sequence all the way across. What it's going to be, chain 5, single crochet into the next chain 5 space, shell, single crochet into the next. So what you'll have is a bump, flat, bump, flat, bump, flat, bump all the way across. So pause your video here, continue that sequence all the way across, and I'll meet you at the very end to work the last stitch together. Okay, we made it to the very end of the row, and we have this last chain 5 space, which we're going to single crochet into. And remember, whatever you do on this side is going to be an exact match on the opposite side. So here we began with 3 double crochet, and we're going to end with 3 double crochets into that very first single crochet stitch. So this is 1, 2, and 3. And remember, those 3 double crochets represents half of a shell. For your next row, you're going to chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet into that very same stitch, that first one right here. This row is just going to be a sequence of single crochets and chains. So chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the first chain 5 space. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now you're going to single crochet into the next, the top of your next shell. The top of your shell is the 3rd double crochet in the shell, tongue twister. So 1, 2, 3, that's the top of my shell. Single crochet and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What you're doing is single crocheting in each chain 5 space and single crocheting into the top of each shell. So that is your pattern repeat. So remember, single crochet into the chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet into the top of your shell, chain 5, single crochet into the chain 5 space, chain 5, all the way across, and I'll meet you at the end to work that stitch together. We've made it to the very end of our row, and remember, we're always going to mirror exactly what we do on one side to the other side. So we are going to chain 5, which we did, and single crochet into the top of your chain 3 stitch. That will be the top of the half shell. All right, for our next row, we are going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This next row is almost like the previous row down here, but we're going to stagger our shells. So this was our first half shell. So our next shell, which is staggered, is going to be right here. So to begin, we're going to single crochet into the very first chain 5 space. Remember, your single crochets are anchors for your shell. We're going to shell into the next single crochet. That's 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to anchor our shell by single crocheting into the next chain 5 space. And chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like the previous row, and single crochet into the next chain 5 space. And you're going to create another shell. I'm going to move a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And remember to anchor down your shell into the next chain 5 space. That is going to be your pattern repeat all the way across the row. And just like previously, it's going to be to begin, since it's a chain 5, a flat bump, flat bump, flat bump, all the way across. And I'll meet you at the other side. All right, we made it to the very end of the row. And remember, we're going to mirror each side. So on this side, you see the anchor and the height of a chain 5 space. So on this side, let's finish our shell anchor into this chain 5 space. And to create the height of a chain 5 space, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and double crochet into the very first single crochet, well, the very last single crochet of the row. So there's a single crochet from the previous row. And that creates the height of the chain 5 space. So for your next row, just like the row from below this one, we're going to chain 1, turn your work. We're going to single crochet into each chain 5 space and the top of each shell. So let's single crochet into the very same stitch. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the top of your shell. Chain 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Single crochet into the chain 5 space, just like before. That's going to be your pattern repeat all the way across. So you're going to chain 5, single crochet into the chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet into the top of your shell, chain 5, single crochet into the chain 5 space, chain 5, single crochet into the top of your shell, all the way across, and I'll meet you at the other side and show you how to work that stitch together. We've made it to the very end of the row, and I've already chained 5, and we're going to place a single crochet into the third stitch of your chain 5 space, because remember, we're mirroring what we did on the opposite side. And that completes your 4-row pattern repeat. To repeat this, I'll leave a timestamp below on exactly where to repeat your rows. But what you're doing is basically 2 rows over and over again. You're just staggering your shell stitches. Here is a swatch worked up a little bit bigger. As you can see, to make sure everything's right, you'll always have a shell, space, shell, space, shell, space. So if you notice your things are stacked on top of each other, that means you did the stitch wrong. So if you don't want to follow along to this video, I'll have the written pattern down in the description box below so you can follow along to that. Thank you for joining me on this tutorial. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the very next video. Hopefully it'll be a pattern using this stitch.